Hey everybody, it's Chanchai. We're going to be doing this live stream. We're going to be talking about Frosty Faustings. So we'll pop on the VFTV for a little bit, and then as people trickle in here, we'll start talking about the bracket. I hope everyone's doing really well today. Frosty Faustings is underway. The first pool has already, the first pool has been played, but there's still 3 more pools to go through. I'll talk about the players, including the ones who are not in there anymore, but I think it's an awesome BF tournament over there, and I wish I was over there. I'm familiar with some of the players, probably all the favorites, or a good chunk of them, and so I think I'll have a lot to talk about when it comes to those players. So I hope you're all doing really, really well today. Please let me know when you're in here, and we can, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Right now is a good time to ask the questions. Yeah, the tournament's pretty good. Let's pop on the VFTV right now. We could have waited just a second longer, but we went ahead and go into the VFTV. So right now we'll pop this VFTV in the background as we discuss Frosty Faustings. This event is exciting. Last year's Frosty Faustings was really huge. This event quite good, and it was kind of the first time in a long time that Sega of America has been pretty active with the VF community scene, reaching out, meeting with the players where they're at, and also really sponsoring and backing a pretty big tournament for Virtua Fighter in the US. So it was a big deal, and the reception was wonderful. The players came out in full force. We had a lot of our community members that were able to go. It's really early in the year. It's January, and a lot of people have spent a lot of money during the holidays, but a lot of players were able to go, and Frosty Faustings is an amazing event. Of course, Combo Breaker is even bigger, but Frosty Faustings is very exciting, and it's just wonderful to have this tournament in January when otherwise it would be quite a big downtime, like a really big off season for fighting games. But Frosty Faustings provides a lot of excitement in that time. It serves a very similar role as like the Australian Open in tennis, where it just you really feel the year-round action of an individual sport, and fighting games are an individual sport. So even if they do comprise of teams with coaches, advisors, and training partners, same as tennis, but it flows like an individual sport. It's usually surrounding a player, and with that creates a lot of interesting challenges on the marketing side, but also on the competitive side, and but it also allows things to go operate at like on a full year schedule, actually, which is why the individual sports tend to have a ridiculously long season compared to other sports. So there's that. Let me see who is here right now, and we can talk about so then we can talk about this tournament, because I'm going to talk about that. We're going to go over the bracket. But before that, let me turn the volume down on this thing here. But I want to make sure that some of you are here to listen in on this discussion. We can talk about a little bit of news before we get to talking about the bracket. So some of the news. As we know, there is the 1.08 patch that just came out last night. There is some good upside to this patch, and there's some downside to this patch, and I'm pretty sure that they'll rectify the downsides that are specific to this patch. So on the upside, some of the bugs have been fixed, but of course the big online stuff, that's not this patch. We were not expecting it. Sega was upfront and put up patch notes at the start. So the good news is that the patch is doing what was intended. There was a letter by Seiji Aoki that was written not because of the patch, but because of Frosty Faustings looking forward to the Open Championships, which they're starting to promote again right now, and also the announcement of the Switch 2 version of Virtua Fighter 5 Revo World Stage, which will be coming out at the start of March. and that one's really exciting. But also, there will be an open beta for the Switch 2 version. I really want everybody that can do that beta to please do that beta. It's really important. It's really, really important for use cases to be seen, for any potential bugs to be identified, and to get onto. This is when they have their attention on it too. So that beta will be on February 19th. So February 19th, we're going to have a beta, and people should definitely be participating in that if they can. We'll see what the full scale of that beta is. It is an open beta, but the questions will be, is this going to have crossplay? Can we test the Switch 2's crossplay capabilities? Or is this just a Switch 2 beta? We'll see. But I think if it does do crossplay, we are going to need the community to come out and play it. Not just like for a day. They got to play it for about a good 3 days or so. Because that's how you can really get better data. You get data from the more players that are participating, and the longer they're participating, the more data you get. The more data you get, the more you can identify things that are likely to happen in a live environment. When you go live, that's a lot more people, and so it's really hard to catch it. And so a beta is only as good as the number of participants. And of course, on the marketing side, there's a communication challenge they got to deal with too whenever it comes to these things. But for us to get the most of what we want, we have to participate. And I would say that during the open beta for Revo World Stage, I don't think our community did our best on that either. I know that everyone's kind of blaming Sega on that now, but I think that a lot of our community just kind of jumped off of it and played Revo. and so one of it is, so it's like, no, if you really want to, like, if you put the time in, there's a better chance that we'll see more coming in. But I'm not blaming the community for everything. I'm just saying that we do have a role. And so if more people fulfill that role, the better it goes. The more likely things are identified early. But of course, it wasn't the best perfect beta, or it wasn't the beta that we had all wanted, but at least they did provide that beta, and they were very communicative about it. Same here, but we can at least learn from the most recent beta and try to make this one even better. So hopefully this beta ends up being like the Revo beta instead of the World Stage beta, but we will see. So I'm excited for the Switch 2. A lot of people are very excited about the Switch 2 release. It was going to come out when it comes out. However, I really hope that improvements that they can identify the things that are hindering the lobby experience, because the lobby experience is good but hindered, and if they can manage what's being hindered, then that would be better. Okay, I also talked about what were some of the problems with 1.08. Okay, so right now the problems that we seems to be happening in 1.08 is that, and we don't know if it's the easy anti-cheat, we don't know if it's a setting, we don't know what exactly it is, but apparently some people cannot get the game now working on their Steam Deck, which is running Proton, not Windows, and some people cannot get the game running on Linux, right, which is not Windows. And so because of that, there's this and this has affected some people that are going to Frosty Faustings. Of course, they're the ones more vocal about it, because it means they weren't able to practice last night unless they found another way to play, or a system that was able to play the game with it patched. So that was really unfortunate. And but I will say though that usually those last bits, as a competitor, they matter some, but they don't matter like everything. Your training in the weeks and months ahead were the things that were going to do the most work. But also the thing that does do real work though is times on the actual setups of the tournament, which is not the same here, right? Not the 1.08 in your home or on your Steam Deck or on your Linux machine. Yeah, cramming is the least effective form of studying, but getting time on the setups at the tournament is a most effective form of preparation, because that is going to affect your timing, and it is not going to be the same. Even when you play on console, just it having USB hubs would change the timing. Okay, And playing on the stream setup versus the non-stream setup. But at least if you get time on their setups at the event, on any of them, you have a better chance. I'm confident in my skills in managing performances like that, like navigating it and just making adjustments as I go and cutting stuff out of my game plan and putting stuff into my game plan based on how I'm feeling. But not everyone is comfortable doing that, and it is a skill differentiator. So some people have that skill, like are A's on that, and some people are B's and some people are C's. But one of the ways you manage that is you try to get some time, a little time, on the setups at the event. And Frosty Faustings, like last year, I know there were tons of casuals there. So like being able to play without like outside the tournament and even during the tournament. So always make use of that, in my opinion. Though I'll admit some hypocrisy here, because I got second place at B Pro Cup in Taiwan and I did not do that. I just didn't play there. Like what happened was I realized that that I hadn't played World Stage on my Steam Deck, and I didn't know that the game was playing much slower, and I didn't have time. My flight arrived like that morning, and I didn't really have time to kind of mess with the settings, and I didn't want to drive myself crazy, so I just took a nap. And I was like, okay, new change of plans. Instead of the usual, I get time in on casuals, I will not play casuals unless I'm fighting somebody that's already out of the tournament. And for the most part, I'm just going to trust in myself, because I'd already done my preparation. But so that's the one time where I did that. Most of the times I will definitely play on the setups at the event, and I highly recommend doing that. So yeah. Hey, Fancy Cinegang, good to see you. Thank you very much. I'm always happy to help. Feel free to message me. Of course, on Twitch, I don't do the messages as well, but you can add me on Discord. However, to anyone that adds me on Discord, please send me a message, because if you don't send me a message and you just like add me, I might assume you're a bot or a spam account, because because all of us get a lot of those. And so if you message me and you tell me where you're coming from, Virtua Fighter, you watched my stream, I'll add you. If you just simply hey, what's up, and give me a very generic conversation, I will not add, not as a personal thing, but as a personal security thing. So yeah. Oh, awesome. Hell yeah. Well, Kage's awesome, and it definitely sounds, so I definitely going to have to recommend Emery Reigns, of course. That is going to be another part of the news I'm going to talk about today. It's Emery Reigns. And I can't tell you guys the other people I know that did the thing with Sega, but what I can say is today Sega did release an ad, an online ad, so on X and on some platforms, with video that has Emery Reigns challenging you to fight him on World Stage. So check that out. You may or may not see one by myself. So but that said, that was a pretty awesome thing, and I think Emery Reigns killed it. He did really good. Like that's definitely the one to put out first, because he killed that one. He did so good on that. And I like that they're showing you video from World Stage. So you can usually tell World Stage videos because it's gonna be like it's gonna be like 2 rounds. So yeah. Really happy to have you here, Fancy, and any question you have, I'll be happy to answer. So yeah, welcome, and thank you for the support. And I appreciate whoever recommended you to check me out. I appreciate them too. So thanks to them, and Happy New Year. The Rock Reaver says, you're in the right place. Chan-Chai is one of the best teachers. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. Well, I'll do my best, and I'm very happy to help. So only call it brief clip. So yeah, so the backtrack, hey BX Jackie, yeah, I'm doing a stream because I wanted to talk about Frosty Faustings, but this stream is only gonna be an hour and a half because I gotta go to lunch with my father. I'm gonna have a father-son lunch, but we're gonna go to a nice Spanish bakery called I think some of you know it, called Dos Hermanos. Dos Hermanos. This will be the first time I've gone, but I kept hearing how good the sandwiches are there, so I'm excited. But yeah, Yeah, family duties, family first, but you know, community is huge. So, Toka, welcome. Been running into some strange folks in rank, like constant teabagging for no damn reason. It is what it is. That just means a lot more people are playing, and a lot more people might be playing because Frosty Faustings. So sometimes you're gonna run into, you know, you're gonna tend to run into the crazier behavior more often when it's like, you know, during mainstream times. So, so you do still run into it in non-mainstream times, but during mainstream times you will sometimes see that. Yes, I wouldn't take it personally. Also, when it comes to Virtua Fighter, here's something that might help. If you're assuming the worst of your opponent, for most people that can mess up your play, and that can mess up your state of mind, and it can add anxiety or frustration. So most people can't handle that well. So for those people, my advice is not to take those things personally, because especially in Virtua Fighter, when you see somebody like, you know, looks like they're wave dashing constantly, that's because they are. Crouch dashing is really important in this game, and there's also a lot of people that play VF that really do like to fidget. And so this game has always allowed you to fidget at the end of rounds, like after you've knocked your opponent out. So I wouldn't take it personally. I know some people do, but I'm kind of like, you know, there's no official rules of respect there. That's something you're imposing on your opponent, and when that affects you by giving you stress, you're imposing it on yourself. You don't need to impose that on yourself. You can just go, okay. You can, in fact, I actually read into what they do at the end to kind of inform me about a lot of stuff. Sometimes they show me what they're going to do the next round. Sometimes they show me what they're obsessed with, and sometimes they show me what movement pattern they favor. So, you know, I'm just saying, like, you can use that information productively, but if you use it to predict their emotional state can help you when you're taking advantage of it, but it hurts you if you're letting that piss you off, unless you're the type that plays really good with a good fuel of fire. There's some players like that. KNR is one of those players that if you piss him off, he'll probably play better. But most players I know will play worse when they're pissed off. So pissing yourself off, not helpful at all. Not at all, unless you're that type that like just runs on it. That's up to you to decide. I can't tell you if that's you or not. Well, I can tell you my impression when we fight, but I couldn't tell you if that's really you until we actually fight, and it's not really my business to tell you. I'm gonna do what's gonna help me, and I'm gonna try to manage my performance by doing things that are gonna help me. Again, some people are better when they're fired up, or at least for a while. That fuel usually burns very short. Like, that fuel can sustain someone for like an hour, 30 minutes, some people only 10 minutes. But I'm the type of player who can play like 8 hours straight, and I'll be fine. And I think that steadiness comes because I'm just calm and having fun, and I'm relaxed while I fight. And I think if you study any sports science at all, and you study any sport at all, relaxation, or if you do martial arts, relaxation is always key. Relaxing your mind can also be very key. So just my advice on that. And so, but to me, that's also why you'll see me laugh, because I do think it's funny. I'm just like, okay, whatever that's supposed to mean, you know. But sometimes it's really them fidgeting. I used to do the crouch dash thing a lot because I was trying to just, you know, work out my muscles, watch how my inputs are going, and it's like my input check after the round and going, is everything working as I want it to? But I know some people really want to see it, and I'm like, you know, teabagging was something I only worried about in shooters, and even then I didn't worry about it much. But you know, some games really let you do it, right? Like especially third-person shooters, and Counter-Strike and Rainbow Six would let you do that because the replay would be like, you would be stuck staring at your opponent bobbing up and down on you. So, you know, like the death cam was just kind of imposed that like that was blatantly a teabag, right? You know, that wasn't like bunny, you know. I think if you get upset about crouch dashes in this game, that's like getting upset about bunny hops in shooters, you know. I'm like, bunny hops don't intimidate me, and they don't insult me at all. So yeah, Anyways, just a tangent on that. Thank you guys very much for coming in here. We're gonna get talking to Frosties very soon. So yeah, again, the issue with 1.08 that we seem to see is possibly that it might not run on Linux, and it might not run on Steam Decks, which runs Proton, right? And that would really suck. That really sucks. I hope that gets addressed like right away. I hope that gets like emergency addressed right away. Emergency fixes are not cheap though, and for a game that's not being on the main big budget, they don't come that often. But this is one of those where that fix needs to happen, and I assume Steam would allow it to go like that. Maybe there's a process through Valve, I don't know, but it would be nice if there's a process through Valve that allows it, because this would be affecting more on the PC side of things, including Steam Deck, than say PlayStation or Nintendo Future or Xbox, where those environments you probably would have to pay quite a bit for each patch you do. So yeah. So Nalastrave, good to see you. How do I become a Taka main? Yeah, well, you play Taka, so Taka is very strong, and it's good to see you, Nala. I hope you've been doing really good. So what's the biggest thing mindset wise to adjust to? Okay, so I will do a video again. I'm going to cover my VF advice, explaining VF to Tekken players, because I ran into Markman in November when I was at Tiger Uppercut in Bangkok, Thailand. And Markman, that was the first time we actually met in person. And so we had a really good chat, and he was just so wonderful. But he really emphasized to me that it was something I wrote to a player in Discord, like on the DM, but I posted it again on Discord, and I posted it on X, and I posted it on Blue Sky, which, by the way, you can follow me on those platforms and DM me on those platforms as well. But or you can comment on my YouTube videos, and that I read all those. So anyways, Markman emphasized to me that thing that I wrote, that mini essay explaining like the differences and explaining how to look at Virtua Fighter coming from Tekken, really he said that one was extremely good, and it was definitely, like, he said it was perfect because it helped him really understand how to look at Virtua Fighter and the decisions and the differences and the things that will feel really weird to you when you're coming from Tekken. So I will definitely cover that video. I'd say a few things though, but I'd say quickly that Virtua Fighter is more forward moving, especially this game. And so in Tekken, because backdash and blocking happen together, because moving away and blocking happen together, which is true for a lot of fighting games, it's not true for Virtua Fighter. But anyways, understanding that it's not true for Virtua Fighter is important. Understanding that moving away is good for certain things, but it's risky, and so it needs to be calculated in this game. It needs to be like, you need to set it up. It needs to be your way of setting them up, because you know what they're going to do, which is they're not going to do a big attack. They're going to do a small attack. Or they're going to try to throw if you're at a certain range already, and you've already looked at the range. But if you just do it because you think that's your way of safety, you're going to die in this game. Because one, you can't guard cancel backdash, but you can guard cancel forward dash. So the beauty in Virtua Fighter of having a guard button is being able to move forward and guarding very actively. You can react guard to things that are coming at you as you move forward. So imagine you're like a Mishima and you're wave dashing forward, but your right hand is covering the defense while your left hand is covering the movement, the ducking, and setting up. But your right hand is the thing that's actually, like, you're blocking actively, like in martial arts, right? I would tell you that if somebody said that's not realistic, I'm like, well, you've been playing too many fighting games, because in real life, backpedaling is not good balance unless you do it with technique. And when you do it with technique, it's a slower process. It doesn't get you out of there so quickly. The proper way to actually run away is to actually literally turn 180 and run away. Backpedaling is more likely to put you off balance. Doing backpedaling movements while doing activities like swinging the racket in tennis can injure you. But whereas like in actual martial arts fighting, you block with a more forward force, because your body is always training moving forward. And then you have to do special training and technique to move away. Now, I don't know if that's the real reason it's like that in VF. I think VF just, Sega always has a forward bias. If you play the Virtual On games, moving forward gives you stronger attacks, where moving away gives you weaker attacks. But, and I think they because they want excitement, right? Sega is about this type of excitement. Not to say Tekken's not exciting. Tekken's very exciting, right? It just does it in different ways. But the design philosophy goes there. But if we want to talk about the immersion factor, that's what I'd say. Aside from that, I'll go into it more later, but I would say that one's a big one. I do talk about stuff like why single attacks are strong in VF. Also, low attacks. Okay, so low punch is really good in Virtua Fighter. Whereas in Tekken, why is it not good? Because it has the same risk as, like, it has like a lot of risk, right? If you low punch and they low parry it, it sucks, right? In Tekken. And of course Crush is always a threat, but Crush is like, Crush can be managed because Crush tends to be slower than you know. But in Tekken, that low parry gonna kill you. It's safe to do, and you can move, and it can be combined with other defense. So that low parry is the reason low punch, just like in Tekken, is just stopping certain pressure but not all of it. Whereas in VF, strings get killed by low punch. VF is funny because strings are weak at first, and then they get strong when your opponent starts building the techniques to punish stuff, because then they're looking to punish your string. They're not looking to low punch your string anymore. Now they're looking to duck the high and launch you. And once they're doing that, now you can start moving beyond, and now your strings, you can start delaying your strings. And in VF, a lot of the strings are delayable. So now your strings are good at a high level when they were sucky at a low level. So I think what I'd quickly say, and then I'll move off this because I'll make a video about it, is that in Tekken, like, I just lost my train of thought here. But in Virtua Fighter, it's very move by move. Really lost what I was going to say. I had it right there. I had a really good thing to say about Tekken and VF, and I apologize that I lost that train of thought. But I would say though that VF is more forward moving, and VF is move by move. In Tekken, you can still do a lot of the stuff that's strong in 2D fighters. You can still pressure with your strings. You can still pressure, and they have to actually wait a turn. In Virtua Fighter, the turns paradigms helps to a degree, but the problem with that is I've seen a lot of people not make decisions when they should make decisions because they think they're owed a turn, but you have to earn it. And in this game, it's not like it's constant rock paper scissors. In this game, the only way you lock your opponent down in this game is you can't lock them by default. They can't just wait. They should wait sometimes, but it doesn't mean that they have to. And they always have answers, always. They have multiple answers. It's not just one. It's not just one good thing, because it's not just speed and power. It's a lot of other factors. It is various levels of crush. So in this game, make use of the fact that the mid attack is good, and if you have advantage, use a mid attack to make them have to defend. That's kind of the key. But then you can move after that, but because at some point they're going to counter that mid attack. They're going to find the extra special way to really punish you for doing that mid attack. And then you move up and up and up. And in this game, you're going to move cycles. It's not, this is good, this is bad. It's, this is good now, but it might be, and then that might be bad now, but later that might be good and this might be bad. It depends on what your opponent's doing. So you need to keep track of it. And at first, this is very confusing. But I think it helps all fighting game players sort out those little decisions and the distinctions. And I do think it will help you as a fighting game player to start seeing things, seeing the possibility space a little more, and exercising having multiple options you can do and different routes you can take. And then watching your opponent and being more responsive to what they're doing now and what they're doing immediately and the changes they make it or the changes they don't make. That's what's really important in this game. And I'm not saying that's not the case for Tekken. I guess the big thing I was going to say is this: Tekken and VF actually have a lot that are similar, and so superficially they look like it looks like you can just play one like the other, and you're in for a rude awakening. Why are you in for the rude awakening? It's not because that they're so different. I just said they're very similar, but they kind of, the progress, the way that you learn the games is kind of opposite. In Virtua Fighter, you start with the mind games, and then with those mind games, and as you master a lot of certain other stuff, you will start to create stability and things they have to go around, and then it becomes more like Tekken there too. The Tekken skills are amazingly strong, but they're hard to do in VF. VF plays really fast, and so ducking and punishing is really huge in this game, but you have to do it, but it's hard to do as a beginner. With punish, very strong in this game, hard to do as a beginner. And your guard punish is even hard to do as a beginner, and that might blow your mind. And that's because the possibility space is going to overload your mental stack. So now you have to manage what should I do in lieu of that, and then the more experience I gain, now I can start guard punishing later, and now I can start duck and punishing with punishing more later. So Virtua Fighter and Tekken do a lot of things similarly, but you end up learning them in reverse order of each other. In Tekken, you got to start with these pressure patterns that just they can't do anything but deal with that pressure pattern. Virtua Fighter, not as much it's more like learn how to box and learn how to grapple first. And that sounds so basic, but it really is key. It's really key. But the boxing is not the end-all be-all. You still have to learn how to do damage. So we'll get to that. I'll make a video about it. We're going to talk about Frosty Faustings. So I think the issue that I have with talking about it as turns is that if you're stealing turns almost all the time, then is it turn taking? Right? That's why I'm like, well, I wouldn't call it turns, but if that's how you want to look at it, it's totally cool because it does help people go in there. But if you stop, but you have to ask yourself, when I'm at a disadvantage in VF, why would I want to attack? And it's because of throw. It's complete, so that's a huge difference. In Virtua Fighter, throws can do as much damage as combos. Throws are very scary in Virtua Fighter. They're very strong. So when you start calling out people that just always block on minus, well, then they're losing because they keep losing the throw. Because throws in this game are good. They can end the round. In other fighting games, throws kind of suck. They're a disruption. They're there to disrupt the attack movement flow. Okay? In this game, they're a flat out call out to sidestep loses to throw in this game. Guarding loses to throw in this game. So all it is okay, make my opponent want to guard because we're playing fighting games and they play Tekken, so they're going to want to guard all the time. Now I just freaking throw them, and I keep throwing them until they attack me. And you know what? That's okay, because by the time they attacked me for throwing them, I probably got 3 throws in, did about 90% of their life, and they just did one combo. And now I won the profit race. You know what I mean? And then later they're gonna start attacking because they're like, I don't want to get thrown. So now you switch, and you're like, okay, now I'm gonna launch them. I'm just gonna defend, and when they're minus, launch. And in this game, a big difference between Tekken and VF is that in VF, almost everything is minus on block. There's each character has so strings fudge things up. Anything that has no follow-up is more than 95%, it's minus on block in this game. But it's not guaranteed on block, but it's minus on block, okay? So most of the time you block something that has no follow-up, you can just do an elbow, and if they didn't attack after that, they'll get hit, okay? If they did a throw after that, they'll get hit because attack beats throw. So that's important to understand in this game. We'll get more into that later. It's a huge topic, and it is a fun one to talk. So yeah, so I hope this makes a lot of sense to you, and it'll make sense how to make it feel more like there's turn taking, and then how to go beyond that, because if you're too predictable, that's your enemy in this game. That's it. This game is, if there's a big difference, this game is super player versus player first, and then the character matchups will flourish that, but at its core, it's still player versus player by a ton. Okay, a lot of other fighting games, for 80% of the skill set, for the bottom 80%, it's the opposite. It's the character matchup, and then it's the player versus player. This game is the player versus player first. It's the player versus player first in this game, and that's a big difference. And you might not understand what I mean by this until you play this game enough. And when you start to realize it, there'll be a moment where you might love that, and then there'll be a moment where you might hate that, because when you start fighting people that are outthinking you, it's not fun. That's well, I find it fun, but that is a very frustrating thing, and it will test your mettle. It'll test your confidence in yourself. It'll test your belief in your long-term potential. But it is what makes this game beautiful in my view, and you will see that this game has consistency on the skill gaps. Strong players are consistently strong, not because of when they started. It's how they use the fundamentals and how they process this decision making. But it is a rude awakening for a lot of people when they first, it is culture shock. At first, oh, this is so cool, right? Japan's so cool. It's so different from America. You live there long enough. Oh, I'm getting really sick of it, and I really want to go back home to America. And then you come to terms with it. This is pretty amazing, and I can live in both places. VF can be like a culture shock. I'm not gonna lie, but I really hope you stick around, because I think this game offers something very special for its own, that other fighting games offer different things. But I think what Virtua Fighter has to offer is really beautiful, and it's so fun. And because of the way this game is like what I just described, it is always it gets better and better. This game, in my view, doesn't really get stale at all. It only gets stale if you fight the same one opponent, but it doesn't get stale when you fight a lot of people like I do. It doesn't get stale at all. I just played in Taiwan. I played in Thailand. I played in Japan. I played in France. I played in the US. I played in Canada. I fought players from all other places too. And I just love this game, and it's always fun. And it's always a bit different too. Everybody brings something a little different, and I love that. So I hope you'll stick with VF, because I think it's an amazing game, and I do think it can coexist with your other fighting games, and I think it will help you process things. But of course, you can't just play Tekken like VF, and you can't play VF just like Tekken, at least not right away. Eventually, though, those Tekken skills get really strong in this game. When you get over the VF barrier, oh my gosh, the Tekken skills are so good in this game. They show up a lot more at high level. So, anyways. That was a lot on that, and thank you so much. I hope you know that this means I'm committed to helping you out. Quick questions, y'all. Can you back crouch dash in the guard? No, you could, but you can't guard cancel. You can't guard cancel backdash, and you can't guard cancel crouch backdash. In this game, the best movement option is crouch dash forward and forward dash. Those ones you can guard cancel, and you can attack cancel. Backdash, you can cancel with an attack, and you can cancel with a sidestep. You cannot cancel it with a guard. You will be vulnerable, and if you get hit during a backdash or a crouch backdash, you will get counter hit. And if you get side kicked during either of those two, you will lose half your life because of a combo. So again, get used to moving forward and defending in this game, and you can. This game does have its version of Korean backdash, and that's basically crouch dashing forward and guarding on reaction. So, or even crouch dash forward and standing guard. That is pretty much the Korean backdash. It's just that you're moving forward. But here's the good thing about that. So instead of looking for a whiff punish, you're just looking for situations you understand and you can win, and that you do better than your opponent. If they do a high, you duck under it already, and you can punish them right away. If you guard something like, if you guard a launcher, then you could guard punish it. So it's really strong. Get used to moving forward to do your defensive stuff in this game. This game has a strong forward defense. The backwards defense is the vulnerability, because in this game, it wants you to be very deliberate with your backdash. It wants you to whiff. It wants you to have a read and understand that your opponent's probably just going to do a basic poke, so you're going to backdash and launch them. But the risk is they might not do a backdash. They might do a side kick instead and kill you. That's the risk and reward, but that's the decision. It's an actual decision. It's not a default. But when you get comfortable doing that, moving forward and guarding with the right hand, moving with the left hand, guarding with the right hand, when you get used to that, it's wonderful. This game lets you do so much. In this game, the closer the players are, the more options they have. Both sides. You have a lot of options on defense, you have a lot of options on offense. And in this game, the closer you are, the more options both players have. The further away you are, the less options you have. It's easier to read what people do far away because there's just not many things that are going to reach. And there's a lot of things that are more likely to win in a deterministic way. But there is a change. There is a little of a difference though in VF, which is that in VF there is a priority system. So if two people attack it and hit each other at the same time, the bigger attack wins, the harder hitting attack wins. And so because of that, if I'm far away and I try to box a heavyweight guy, I might lose just simply because he might have hit the punch button like a frame or two before me, and he will win the trade because his does more damage than mine. And so that's a big difference too in VF. And so because of that, if I'm playing a lightweight character, I have to win on speed or crush or evasiveness. But if I'm a heavyweight character, I could win on speed, and I can also probably win on trade. So big differences. Big differences. Yeah. I'm really happy that you feel like you came to the right stream. Yeah, so all right, that said, this is making a lot of sense. The throws, yeah, I do try to break it down. The reason for the long answers and the reason that I typically write essays is because I'm trying to help you understand logically and then understand the application. I'm trying to explain it so that you can visualize it and you can follow along. And so some people don't like, wall of text or a long talk, but most people I've experienced really like the way I explain things because they can see the progression, and I'm trying to help you move there too. So I hope that makes sense. So I will say in this game, high attacks are a big weakness because of if you do too many high attacks, you're gonna get ducked and punished. Now it might not happen at low level, but it'll happen at intermediate and high level. That you'll start seeing more duck and punish, and they'll start seeing it as that's the best place to do a launcher in this game. It's just that it takes a while to get used to it, and it takes knowing that the opponent is gonna overuse high attacks. So yeah. Now jabs are a little different because they're so fast, but at the same time, they still have that weakness, and they have a weakness to back. Well, in Revo, they no longer really have a weakness to backdash. So jabs are a little better than they were. They are always strong. The best moves in the game are definitely the high jab, the low jab, and the elbow, and the throw, and defense. So I used to call it Pete. Punches, elbows, throws, and defense. But that said, that is when I talk about the boxing of VF, it's about how to use those moves, how to use the best moves in the game efficiently, and how to win and set up bigger situations with those moves. Awesome. We got some Filipino chat here. We got some Tagalog in the chat. Awesome. I am not Filipino, but kumusta ka and mabuti. Yeah, VF is very... By the way, Sonic Blade TV, so good to have you here. Hope you're doing really good. Yeah, every character is good in so many ways and in their own way. And I would say that in this game, here's the thing in VF though. So you're used to archetypes in Tekken, you could archetype them, but really think of each character in this game as a full toolbox. They have all the tools they need to win every situation in this game. They do. Now, some of them have better tools than others in certain departments, but they all have the toolboxes. They all have a complete toolbox. And in this game, everybody has to be good at boxing. Everybody's good at grappling. Every character is a grappler. Every character is a boxer. And every character is a YOLO artist too, in their own way. So, So that's what I would have to say about VF. But that's also why it's kind of hard to teach. That's why it's hard to find like a super simple way to like. It's why when you get good players trying to teach VF, a lot of us struggle to dumb it down, because we keep seeing like the problem with like if you thinking this is the only way to play or this is the only way to play, and because it's so dynamic, right? It's kind of like but we should teach winning, like things that win, right? We should teach, and I think there is a way to do it, and I'm going to be doing more of that soon. So I do have a series in mind already outlined on how I approach this, but it is hard for us to teach because there's always going to be somebody in our, especially if we do it on a live chat, somebody in our live chat's going to call out, well, you could always do this, and it's like, yeah, you can, because in VF everything has multiple answers to it, but we have to get people on a narrative thread to feeling comfortable about what they're going for, and I've got a way that I'm going to talk about that, and also for each character. So yeah, so there is a way to teach VF the way other fighting games are taught. It's just that we'll have to reinforce the basics consistently while we're doing that, so it's got to be this kind of mixed diet, and so we'll do that. So my last set was with Assassin Kage, who jumped on my stream and showed me awesome. Assassin, it was probably KDQ Assassin playing Kage. Also, he's a very strong player. Yeah, shoutouts to Replay Takeover, 100%. Definitely friend people. Yes, Just Miles gave wonderful advice. Stick with the streamers, and also friend everyone with a good connection to you, and friend everyone who you like playing with, even if the connection is not the best, but you like playing with them. Make sure you're enjoying the game. Make sure you're playing with people that you enjoy playing the game with. And this game will reward. To me, this is a lifestyle game. This game is so good that I see myself playing this for the rest of my life. Literally. I really do. If the new VF doesn't even the new VF's going to be amazing. But even if it's not amazing, I know that this game, I'm happy to play with for life. I've already made peace with that a long time ago, and I still feel that more every year. So VF to me is like a lifestyle game, but hopefully the new VF will win me over completely and will be the game I'm happy to play with for the rest of my life too. So let's see here. Let's see. You'll eventually learn how to deal with 2P. 2P is actually the quick advice I'll give, and then I really got to get back on topic, is that 2P, your opponent is not threatening to win with 2P. Your opponent, the danger of 2P is not the 2P itself, it's what they do after 2P. If they hit you with 2P, what do they do? That's the thing you have to worry about. If you understand that, even when you get hit by 2P, there's a lot of stuff you can do, then 2P is no longer that threatening. Now, if it counter hits you, you're in a big mix-up, so that's different, but you can always play reverse mix-up. But actually, even if it normal hits you, you could fuzzy guard. Imagine every time you got hit by 2P or high jab, as long as it's a normal or recovery hit, not a counter hit, not an interrupt, then you could fuzzy guard. That's like being able to Korean backdash anytime somebody hits you, right? So just putting that out there. So focusing on what the opponent does after 2P, that's number one. And if what they do after 2P is another 2P, you can crush it. So, and that leads to the other point. Point number 2. 2P is a low attack. It's an EX low, but it is a low. And EX low is worse than a regular low because you can high guard it and low guard it, and it'll work. But you can also crush it. A lot of times I'm going to say mid attacks are important. They're important because they're hard to crush. Low punch can be crushed, high punch can be crushed. So if you have to think that you got to steal turns 90% of the time, which to me defies the definition of turns, that's the reason 2P is weak, because it's crushable. Every character has ways of crushing, and they might not all have the ways to like do huge damage, but they all have ways to do it, and you can definitely use the advantage you get if they whiff the low punch. So there's that too. So you'll get used to that. But also there is another thing. You do need to get used to buffering. So what is buffering? Okay, in most fighting games, you need to specially time stuff after you guard or after you get hit, and the timing window can be a bit tough. Virtua Fighter, the timing window is much more generous than pretty much any fighting game I've played. But you just have to learn, but it's counterintuitive. You have to learn to input early. And this is hard. This is not easy. Some people get it right away though. But most players, especially coming from other fighting games, have to like train on this. They have to get used to it. It's different. It's not the same. And then they're going to be like, well, I don't want to make mistakes in my Tekken, so I'm going to just not even buffer. I'm going to perfectly time everything. But in this game, if you try to perfectly time everything, you'll probably be late almost always. You'll probably almost always be late. This game plays faster. And when we say this game is really fast, it's also because it wants you to operate sooner. Now, it doesn't mean you need faster reactions, but it does mean you need to act sooner, or you need to react to things a little earlier. So I would say for that, instead, like, okay, yes, hit confirm is really strong and really important, but actually I do what we call animation checking. I'm watching my opponent's animation during the startup frames of my attack, during whatever, and I'm making a prediction about how this is going to land, or whether I get interrupted or whether he gets interrupted. And that helps me prepare for what's next, because this game lets me input everything early. And when you get used to buffering, then when both players are playing on the buffer, which is just the first step, when both players are playing on the buffer, it can feel like an RPG. It can feel like a turn-based RPG, kind of, except it's always your turn. But it can feel like that because you're just queuing up. You're like, okay, I know what I'm going to do next. I'm just going to input it now. And then your character does it magically, you know? So buffering will be a topic we talk about, and you want to get good at it. And you want to force yourself to buffer. If you don't do it, here's the thing. Most people that play online will say that they think that they lost to lag. And in my experience, and then I played them offline, and they didn't lose to lag. They didn't lose to the game lag or the online lag. They weren't buffering, and they just didn't know it. They were losing to their lag that was self-imposed because they're delaying everything, and they don't know it because VF lets you input things earlier. In other games, well, look at Street Fighter, that tiny window you have to nail for a just frame, that tiny window is why in Street Fighter then you're like, okay, I gotta perfectly time everything. Okay, but in VF it's like, okay, you see this tiny window? In VF, it went from this tiny window to like this big of a window, because I was allowed to input 12 frames before my character recovered. And if I did that, he still does it when he recovers, like magic. So get used to inputting earlier. Now, it is possible to input too early, and it isn't and so try not to rush. This game, really just play it like at an easy pace. Like, be relaxed when you play this game. Biggest advice I can give. If you relax, a lot of the motions are a little better. Back forward, much better when you're relaxed. Just back forward, like, you know, dip, dip. But when people do it like a sonic boom, much harder. Like they screw it up more. They screw it up more in this game. But when they just simply tap, like tap back, tap forward, punch, yeah, like it works, right? Try to be very relaxed when you input in this game. Okay, so that said, right now, Frosty Faustings is happening, so let's get talking about that. But I really wish I could catch up with what the chat's been saying. Well, let's see. But is there a lot of setups? There's a lot of setups in VF, but the thing is, a lot of the setups in VF are functional. That means they're kind of like a template. That means, in general, if you can understand what they're functionally doing, you can understand functionally what the answer is, or what one of many of the answers are. There's many answers to almost everything. There's only a few things. Only 1% of this game is like oppressive to where there's only one answer. That's a big difference. In Tekken, there's like you better learn how to defend this or you're dead in Tekken. There's a lot of that in Tekken. And then once you learn to defend, then it's about whether they defend or not, because it's whether the person actually does the thing or not. And so that's the guessing game in Tekken at first, right? But in VF, there's actually a lot of answers to stuff, but you do need to get sharp, meaning you got to buffer. You do got to understand what functionally the options are. And that takes a bit to get used to because it's different. But once you get used to those things, you'll start being able to solve a lot of problems. The more problems don't worry about being in the weeds in this game, learning these small situations and stuff. It adds up, and eventually you start making the insight that the way that you solve this problem here applies to a lot of other problems elsewhere. And eventually it'll all click together. And that's because things are mostly winning because of function, because of the system, as opposed to just because it's a special move property, though it does have that. It definitely has that in this game. But most things are winning in categorical reasons. So you just have to learn functionally how things are happening, and then functionally how a setup is happening, what is really happening here, and then you can boil it down, and then you can start solving it a lot. Once you get used to that, you can solve a lot of problems by looking at it as a system instead of just looking as just move by move. You'll start to realize all this move, and that move, they're all in the same category. Just there's slight differences, and so I have to adjust for those little differences, but generally same category. And how do we solve that? And it'll almost always be very similar. So yeah, you'll get there. But yes, there is a lot of setups, and when you're coming from other games, it's going to look like all gimmicks, and they are gimmicks to a degree, but functionally they have functional roots that'll make sense, that are consistent. And that consistency is another beautiful thing in Virtua Fighter for a lot of people. I don't always see it that way myself, but a lot of people will talk about how they feel this game is so consistent once they understand the game. And I think that's what they're talking about. They're talking about that once I get a sense of what they're doing on a system level, then I kind of understand how to solve it. And I can understand why I didn't solve it in the match. And now next time this is what I got to do. And then now I know what I need to put myself under pressure to deal with. And then I can solve it. Right now I'm just doing VFTV and chatting with the group, Blondie. But Blondie, it's so good to see you. And today it looks like I'm not going to be able to play as many matches. I might not play matches in this stream, but tonight I should be playing matches. Because in an hour in a half an hour I gotta go meet my dad for lunch. But I'm here for another half hour. Yeah, Jin Kage is amazing. One of the best teachers in Virtua Fighter. Jin Kage, really, I will definitely be sharing that one. Highly recommended. Highly recommended. Yogo doesn't stream as much, but Yogo right now is the #1 Kage in the world. But Jin is definitely one of the very best Kages in the world. And Yogo is super amazing to watch. And there's a lot of amazing Kage players, actually. We'll talk about them a bit later. But now let's talk about Frosty Faustings. So you guys are going to hear the sound of the game of VFTV, but I'm going to go ahead and pop on this. Where did I put it? Here we go. Okay, so here we've got Frosty Faustings, and I'm going to go ahead and reload this. Sorry for how bright this looks on Windows. I really do need to change theme or something and find a theme, so this is not like so super white. Okay, so let's look at brackets, and let's talk about the players at Frosty Faustings. It's happening right now. 2 pools have been completed. And so we got pools A and B, C and D. C and D will be playing later today, or actually C is probably playing right now. So let's look at pool A, and we're going to talk about some of the players at Frosty Faustings here. So of course the spoiler is that Jacko and Sente are the ones who made it out of Pool A. And those two would actually have probably been my favorites, but let's talk about each player that were in this pool. Jacko was definitely one of my very favorites to come out of this pool. He is a veteran player. I believe he's from New York, but I don't know fully where he's from. But Jacko is very strong. He plays both Sarah and Jeffrey. I actually associated more with Jeffrey. And then I fought his Go just a couple weeks ago. That said, I don't know if he was playing Go as a main or if he was playing Go to train for Tengu Man, but he was playing Go 2 weeks ago, and I had a blast. I always have a blast fighting Jacko. We fought each other in a couple tournaments, and we've played each other a bit, not like a ton, but a bit. He's very, very strong. Fundamentals are good, and he's generally kind of calculating. He's got setups. If you fall for his setups, he'll keep doing his setups until so you have to clear the setup barrier. But his Sarah to me was very dynamic and pressuring, but his Jeffrey is really setting you up like hell, especially Okizeme, but also seeing if you're going to escape ground throws and going to also try to ring you out if you don't know how to break that. Okay, let me enlarge this window because I think that'll drive some people crazy if they're seeing this if they're seeing like bits of the VFTV. It doesn't bug me, but I know it bugs some people, so we'll do that. All right, my bad. Okay, so there's Jacko, definitely a favorite in there. Now there was also this player, Big Dame. Big Dame is pretty cool. I wouldn't put him as like a favorite, but Big Dame is definitely not to be trifled with. He's won tournaments and he is strong. But I do think Jacko is in a different tier. But Big Dame is very serious about his VF and his Tekken, and he's lived both on the East Coast and the West Coast. It's no secret, he's posted about it on social media, but he works for United Airlines. And so he does get to travel, and he has volunteered and helped events. So he's a wonderful community member, and I really encourage people to follow him on X if they can find him. Big Dame is really cool. He's just a really nice, positive presence, and definitely want to support him. But you don't see him stream. Mostly you see him go to tournaments. All right, we got Sente. Sente was one of my favorites for this bracket, but not to win. Like, I would still say Jacko is still stronger than Sente, but Sente is definitely a person who can disrupt brackets and is definitely a real dark horse. Sente, I don't know his history too well, though we've interacted quite a bit. Sente organizes events in Ohio and has been doing amazing. They have coordinated 3 different cities of activities, of weekly offline sessions in Ohio, in Columbus first actually, and in Dayton. So if you're in the Ohio area, you really need to reach out to Sente, and he will get you going to play VF wherever you are. And he's just such an amazing community member, and he helped me so much at LA Gathering. I knew he was going to be so helpful because because I could just tell that, like myself, he's a guy who likes to do work at events. He likes to help people. He likes to make things happen, and he coordinates, and he's got a good systemic mind about it too. Okay, he plays Aoi. And the thing about his Aoi, though, is that it's not super aggressive exactly. It plays kind of, think of it as like an off-rhythm Aoi. It's one where sometimes it's going to play a little sharp and sometimes it's going to play a little slow. And it can totally mess you up on that. If you start feeling like you've got a read on him, you got to be very careful because he's probably going to sucker punch you after that. So he's that type of player. I used this to good effect because he was on my team. At LA Gathering during the team tournament, he was on my team, so was Especia, who's in this bracket and I'll talk about later. And Sente, I actually put him in our top spot in our matchup against a really strong team, which was Yellowtail and Rental Animator. Right, Rental Animator plays Leon like myself and is also a contender for best Leon in North America, and Yellowtail is definitely one of the best players in North America. And I lined it up for him that if they had put the order as I expected, which would be Yellowtail in the top position and Rental in the second, that's how I lined up our team so that Sente would fight Yellowtail, because I knew that they had not fought each other and that Sente's type of playing might take the win in that format. It was a single game format, and so we got the win, right? I got the win over Rental Animator in the team tournament. He later got me in the singles tournament, and then Sente took down Yellowtail. It was really exciting, really fun to watch that, and I had confidence that would work. So that was a fun moment, and Sente is that type of guy. So that he's moving on to the top 8, you definitely want to watch out to see how he deals with his opponents. However, the opponents that I'm expecting him to fight are all very, very sharp and can improvise. They're all players that can play a stronger game 2 than a game 1. Yellowtail can as well, but I had him beat Yellowtail in a 1 game match, right? Not a first to 2 or a first to 3. And top 8's going to be first to 3. So I would say Sente still could be an upset favorite, but in the first to 3 format, it gets harder for him. He is very strong. I can see like Jacko giving him a hard time with Jeffrey, because Jeffrey's two-handed attacks will definitely because Sente is not the type to really spam the attacks that Aoi can kind of do now in Revo, since Revo. He's more likely to patiently use setups, land 6-6k from further away, and do some of the more high damage stuff, but patiently. And that's the type of player Sente is. I compare him to how Aikido is portrayed in the movies, and maybe even like Steven Seagal when it's not on like high speed right away cutting. Okay, but Steven Seagal in the movies. Real life, I'm not going to judge. All right. So other players too. There was Especia, as we know, moved on to fight Jacko in the winners final of this pool. Especia is a strong player. She's only been playing VF like less than a year, I think, and she plays Vanessa. And I believe where she really got a lot of strength was, I believe, at Evo. She went to Evo and she was already pretty strong, but Tricky worked with her at Evo, is my understanding. And Especia has been very, like, she's a skilled player. She likes to play Virtual Fighter and Third Strike. I do like following her on social media, and I do like we hung out at LA Gathering. She was on my team, and she's got a lot of really good skills, and she's only going to get stronger. Things that she does, she actually does duck and punish really well, better than a lot of VF players do. So a lot of VF players are not the very best at duck and punish. She's very consistent on that, and so she's good at things like that. Vanessa is a very precision-based character, though, and so that precision means that, like, it's kind of detailed getting strong with Vanessa, but at the same time, you might not be dealing with robust solutions as much when you play as Vanessa as other characters. And so I do hope that Especia is playing some other characters in the background to kind of get a sense of the robust use of the move list, because Vanessa is a very precision character, actually, and that will look very normal coming from other fighting games. Coming from VF, you'll realize that there's a strong robustness for most of the cast. And Vanessa has it too, but a lot of times you're incentivized to use her precision instruments. So what do I mean by precision tools? I mean, they win very detailed situations more specific, in very specific ways, as opposed to just winning the situation outright because it's a mid attack or a high attack or a low attack. They're things that are like, oh, okay, because they're doing this attack and this attack and this attack, I can interrupt it because she's the one character that can really consistently attack at all times, because she has, on her defense stance, she has attacks that will win even when she's minus. That's not really true for a lot of the cast, and it's not because of plus on block, it's because she has crush properties and a lot of Sabaki attacks. And so because of this, now Especia has good defense. So I'm saying that right now because I want to explain something about Vanessa and learning VF through Vanessa. Is that a lot of players that play Vanessa are likely to play Virtua Fighter in a way that's like a lot of other fighting games and not see the difference, and they're likely to try to solve problems with attack almost exclusively. She has a really good throw game, just like everybody else, but she has a very, very good throw game. And you do want to learn how to use throws in this game. And if you really want to get good with Vanessa, you want to use the throws. She can do that too. So Especia has that. But you also want to understand the role of defense and the normal and kind of the normal flow, but also how defense is used. But when you play Vanessa, you might skip that chapter because you have attacks that can win even when you're minus. So you might just try to crush. And when you try to crush, there's a lot of the equation you might be missing. You might not realize why you're winning situations. More importantly, you might not understand why the opponent's making decisions the way they are. And then later on, you might struggle once they start learning how to fight against Vanessa and punishing her for attacking too much. So it's one of those things that this is just me saying, if you're going to learn Vanessa, because she's very popular, especially in North America, understand this and understand you want to get good with throws, and that'll probably help you. And then, yeah, learn her attacks, but also learn what you should do when you guard, learn what you should do when you evade, and definitely use your throws. If you only solve problems with attack, you're going to lose to certain stuff that's going to drive you nuts. And I've seen a lot of Vanessa players get mad when they hit this spot, but then I also see them later come back and love VF because they learned the game in greater detail. All right, so there's Especia. Flame Falco is definitely was someone to watch, but I haven't seen them lately, but they play pretty well. And then also, I believe Adam was Cowtail Robinson, is what I heard. I haven't seen Cowtail Robinson play in a long time, so I can't comment too much. But they were one to watch. Johnny the Flash was definitely somebody I would say you should focus on, because Johnny the Flash, they come from Dead or Alive, I believe, and their Sarah is quite strong, and their Sarah is decently strong. It's quite strong. But they also have a very focused. Have an interesting attitude, so I like talking to them. I like working with them, but they are also like a cut to the chase kind of person, and they can be confrontational, but I like it in their fight. And so Johnny the Flash has a Sarah that they're a player that I've enjoyed watching their progress in VF, and I really believe they're quite strong. That said, I also think that Especia's Vanessa, it turns out Especia and Johnny Flash fought a good battle, and Especia came out on top there. And over here, Flame Falco did well, but lost to D Cobros. And D Cobros won over Johnny the Flash. So that sorts those two out, right? Big Dame ended up fighting all the way up to Sente. And then Sente and the Cobras fought, and it ended up being Sente versus Especia, which I think is awesome. I think this three is definitely what I probably would have picked. So it worked out in that way. It's easy to say that when you know the result, but that's what I would have said. So that's everything I would have said about this bracket. Now we're going into the second pool. And then the second pool, in Pool B, which has already been sorted, I would have said Oyoran was a player to watch, but Tengu Man is the clear favorite. So Tengu Man is one of the... Jacko and Tengu Man are among the favorites for tournaments. I'm going to get it out of the way right now, before I even look at this bracket. Tengu Man, Jacko, XTN, KNR, those four are definitely favorites, and there is another favorite I'm going to bring up, but those four are really strong in there, and Fence. So those five are the ones that I'm like, those are the players that you really want to watch, right? If we were watching this today, if they were broadcasting all these matches today, I would have said, watch Tengu Man, watch Jacko, watch KNR, watch XTN, and watch Fence. Those five are the ones I really would watch to see how they fight, right? So now, okay, so enough said this. Tengu Man is a clear favorite to me. So, and he is also from Chicago. So, let's see here. I don't recognize all these names here. and I apologize if it's someone I should know. So unfortunately, Oyoran could not make it. I forgot about this. So Oyoran was a player to watch. They are a veteran. However, they couldn't make it because of work. So Oyoran had to pull out at the last second because of work. And that's really unfortunate because Oyoran would have represented Ohio really well. Oyoran is a strong player. They play Kage. And they also were the photographer at LA Gathering, and really love this guy. So Oyoran was a player to watch, but unfortunately they had to do work this weekend. We got Chris. I'm not familiar with Chris, but I know I'm supposed to be familiar with them, and we have seen Loose Leaf in some of the online events. So, but in this pool, to me, I would have favored Oyoran and Tenguman because of their experience and my familiarity with them. I wish I could say more about the others, but this is how I would. However, we can say that the one who made it out is Chris. And I have heard that Chris is somebody I gotta watch. Chris might be a player from St. Louis, I'm not sure. But I think I heard Chris was a very strong player to watch. So I apologize that I don't know Chris. But I had heard that Chris was someone to watch. And but they did get through. I probably would have forgotten that though, if I had streamed this before seeing this pool play out. So I probably would have underrated Chris because I would have not remembered that I was told Chris was a player to watch. But we do see Loose Leaf coming back strong, but eventually losing to Chris. So Chris is definitely a player to watch. I'm going to be excited watching Chris in the finals. Okay. Let's go back. Sorry, I hate the back button on Start GG, so I just try to go back to the bracket here, click this route. Okay, so now let's look at a pool that we don't know the results for yet. Okay, this pool C, has XTN, who would be one of the favorites in here for sure. Let's see here. Incident is a player to watch, so is Baydor. So Incident and Baydor are both players to watch, though I don't know if I'd call them favorites. Incident is a real dark horse that could, but I still favor XTN. Aman is somebody who's been joining us recently, and so I'm excited to see how they do. Again, I wouldn't call them a favorite, but that's somebody that's a name that we recognize. Team Chris is definitely someone to watch. So Team Chris versus Incident would be pretty cool, or versus Baydor would be pretty cool. Team Chris is a commentator, but he also likes to play, and he's having a lot of fun. And he's not going to say he's the best player or anything like that, but he's a solid player. And so it'll be fun to watch his journey. I would favor Incident over Team Chris. They're both from Florida, but I can see it go either way, actually. I can see Team Chris winning that, too. But I would definitely favor XTN over both of them. Svengeance is somebody who watches my channel on YouTube quite a bit. They're really cool. They're also called 99 Biff. And so you can see them in the comment section on some videos and on some streams. So Svengeance is really cool. He plays Leon, and he definitely has dark horse energy. You got to watch out for Svengeance. He can do damage. It's hard to get, like, if you are the type to like feel like you've solved a guy, yeah, you won't feel comfortable fighting Svengeance. He changes it up. So Svengeance's game has a slight element of chaos to it, as is mine, but mine's a little more organized. But his got slight element of chaos to it, and he can pull off some pretty good damage. That said, XTN has a lot of experience against Leon. He's fought my Leon a ton. He's fought Rental Animator a lot. Those two very different Leons. And so I think XTN is a strong favorite over Svengeance, but I do think Svengeance is a threat to anybody else in this bracket. So I think that would be exciting. Oh, except for, here's the fact, KNR. KNR is our other favorite. Okay, between KNR and XTN, that's hard. I might give the edge to KNR, to be honest, but I think these two have fought a lot. Both of these two are good tournament players. XTN and KNR are both really good tournament players. XTN's the more calm one, but I know he can get fired up. They're both strong at Tekken. I have to give the edge to probably the KNR, KNR has a lot of intangibles. Well, I make it sound tangible, but he has intangibles that are very scary, and that makes him a threat in every tournament he plays, in any game he plays. KNR is defiant. He is stubborn. He is aggressive, but he's capable of playing super aggressively defensive too. KNR thrives on adrenaline. He's the type of player who's going to raise the adrenaline level for both players. And he is really good at fighting with adrenaline. Players that can fight with adrenaline tend to do very good at offline tournaments. They tend to do good the deeper it goes. So a lot of times the challenge for a player like that, but this is not KNR will definitely make it through the bracket okay. But for a lot of players that thrive on adrenaline, some of them start off cold, and then they get hot around here, and they get super scary here, and then they get super scary there. They get super scary in the deeper the tournament goes. But KNR is actually pretty scary all throughout. But he definitely gets scarier the deeper he goes too. So KNR is definitely a player to watch. He's from St. Louis. He's going to probably have the St. Louis flag, and he's probably going to wear it. He brings the energy. He gets the crowd cheering. He's good for VF, but he plays all 3D fighters. He's good for all 3D fighters. You want to watch him in Soul Calibur, you want to watch him in Tekken, and you definitely want to watch him in VF as well. I don't know his Dead or Alive history, but I know you want to watch him in those 3 games for sure. I have a lot of respect for KNR. I love fighting him. I fought him quite a bit. Not like a ton, but we've had our sessions, and it's so much fun. We definitely thrive on each other's energy. We both love playing with our stubbornness, but we also both love pivoting from our stubbornness too. So it's very scary. And so I would have to say this bracket, actually KNR would be my favorite, but XTN is also a favorite. Really hard to choose, actually. These two should be fighting really, really good. XTN versus KNR is what I expect in both the winners final and in the losers final of this pool. So, well, they can't fight again because they're going to both move on, but I expect both of them to move on in this bracket. I really do. And it's a double elimination, so I definitely expect both of them to make it through, to be honest. The double elimination favors these two type players very strongly, especially in this bracket. But I do think Vengeance can give hell to someone, and I definitely think that surprises can happen. But I think Incident has the potential, but it's less likely. Team Crest has the potential, but it's less likely. Vengeance I can see causing like an upset, but I don't know if that upset would carry through to get out of the losers bracket. And I would expect them to lose in the winners final if they were to make it there, because of how strong XTN and KDR are. So that's how I see Pool C. All right, we hit the back button. It worked. Okay, so here we've got interesting stuff. We've got new generation versus old generation in this bracket. In Pool D, St. Louis has got OGM Bison. That's a player to watch. We also have Fence, who's really a player to watch. Fence made top 8 last year at Frosty Faustings. It's a big splash. They intended to go to Combo Breaker, but they got sick, and I thought it was honorable of them to, at the very last second, to have to cancel, because that was not cheap for them. But they had to cancel at the literally the day before, because they got sick and they didn't want to get others sick. Even though everyone gets sick at a big tournament. But Fence unfortunately got sick, so they couldn't do Combo Breaker, because that was definitely a tournament to watch for Fence. Fence is a real tall guy in real life. They've been playing Jean lately, though last year they played Brad. They're strong with both. They can play either one. Fence is very strong and very aggressive, likes to really be very aggressive and seeks opportunity, and that's their strength. And it plays out really well in an offline tournament, but it's the fact that they're strong online and offline. So they're a player to watch, and they're part of the new generation, and they might be my personal pick for favorite in this bracket, in this pool. Okay, I don't know Sky Tank's Lemon and Lime or basics of CQC, but I do know Dandy J. Dandy J is quite strong. In tournaments, I've seen him do well. In LA Gathering, he did very well. In all, I did fight him. It's hard to know. Fence versus Dandy J, I couldn't tell you how that would go. I would give Fence a slight edge, but Dandy J is a strong player, and he's gotten stronger, and I don't know how much stronger he's gotten, but you know, I haven't seen him in 4 months. He got stronger each time I saw him. Because in this VF, he's been very devout to this VF. He's really been focused on this VF. And so I think, but he's also probably been playing City of the Wolves a lot too. He's a King of Fighters player as well. He's known for making one of the best videos for Virtua Fighter and definitely one of the best videos of all time for King of Fighters. And he's a very sharp player. And I really like fighting him. I tend to think that, my gut feeling when I fight him is that he can fight chaotically, but he handles chaos not as strong as I do, but he handles it. Meaning, I think he likes stability, but I think he likes creating his own chaos. But I think he can have trouble managing the opponent's chaos. And the thing is, though, is that Fence does bring the chaos. And I think Fence would definitely play Jean against Dandy J's Kage. Just because with Brad, there's Kage has opportunities to kind of disrupt Brad's game, but I think with Jean's focus and where Jean gets his damage, I think those work out against Kage and decently enough, especially with the way that these two fight. That, you know, if I was coaching Fence, I would tell him he should play Jean against Dandy J's Kage, and just it would keep the board stable. Whereas with Brad, if you got to mind which high attacks you do, because if you do them, you might get crushed by Kage, and you might suddenly get wrung out. I would also tell Fence to just play in like an enclosed stage, play a stage with all walls, or try play a stage without ring out. Now ring out's not the biggest deal, but Dandy J is capable of winning with ring out. But if you want to use that read against Dandy J and you're confident, then you can do that. If you're comfortable doing reverse reads, then it's okay to play the ring out stage against Dandy J's Kage, but the risk is pretty high, and it's very high. But there are certain things that you can read into it, and Fence has fought against Volcano Shed quite a bit, but Volcano Shed and Dandy J play very differently. So I'd be excited to watch that. I wish that would be on stream. I hope these two make it through, but we've got more players, and we got more good players. We got a couple of veterans coming up. So we also have Shag. Shag is a veteran. Shag almost always makes it to day 2 in tournaments. Almost always. I think I've almost never seen him not make the second day of a tournament. Shag is very strong. He's very steady. That steadiness is probably why I might hesitate to say he's favorite, but it is why I say he's gonna go deep. He's gonna go far. Shag is very strong. He's very competent. He plays good VF. He plays Go. That said, and I fought Shag a lot. We had sessions in my room at EVO Japan 2023. And I saw Shag in New York that year, saw him in Japan that year. And Shag consistently goes to events. Shag doesn't stream. You don't see him online much, but you see him at events. And I love that. He's a good friend. And actually, he introduced me to a friend who would later be a good wingman to when I met my wife, or when I started dating my wife. And that was really good. So I'm going to say Shag was instrumental in helping me seal the deal with my wife, you know, indirectly. But anyways, no, but Shag is awesome. And I'm cheering for him. I might give the edge to Fence, or with Dandy J versus Shag, that could be a crazy match too if that happens. All right, there's more. Okay, I don't know Great Cat or Last Romeo too well, or Doc Devious or Blue or JS Swish or J Swish. CG Sonic Boom is a friend. It's Kung Fu Hustle. He's from Chicago, and he definitely can be like a dark horse in here. CG Sonic Boom definitely marches to his own beat. Whether he's playing Akira or whether he's playing Lei Fei, but I've mostly played his Lei Fei in recent years. That said, I think Fence has good experience against Lei Fei. I think Shag has solid fundamentals against Lei Fei. I think Dan DJ, I'm not sure Dan DJ's experience with Lei Fei. But then again, CG Sonic Boom, aka Kung Fu Hustle, does not, or he does not like play like a typical Lei Fei, if you could say that there is a typical Lei Fei. But he plays his own brand of Lei Fei. Anything could happen. But those are the four that I see that stand out to me in this pool. I personally think it's going to be Fence that makes it through, and I'm likely to think either Shag or Dan DJ makes it out, but it could be any of these four. Any combination of these four could make it out, and we will see. So that is that's covering the Frosty Faustings bracket. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I will have to go, but I'm going to catch up on the chat. So I intended to play some matches, but this one, but this took up the whole time. I took up the whole time talking about Tekken versus Tekken and VF, but I was happy to do it. I really appreciate you being in my stream. Thank you so much for the questions. Thanks for the chat. This chat has been amazing, and I really, really hope you guys are enjoying this type of content. I'll try to put out more, but I am trying to start rolling out actual videos, because I think the community needs it. I think players new to VF need that, and so I'm working on those types of things. But I do want to get back to streaming regularly too, and so we'll get there. But I think my highest priority right now is to kind of get informational content out. And this is not exactly that. This was meant to be a stream. If I could, I would have made this into like an edited video or a slideshow presentation or something. But it turned out that in my current time, in my setup time, I need to do it as a stream. And I love that I did it as a stream because I love chatting with you guys. And so I'll try to do more streams like this too. Yeah. Well, he's focusing on John. But Brad is definitely in his back pocket, and he does bring it out. But I do think that Jean is clearly the character he should play. I definitely think that he should definitely play as Jean. I think when it comes to Brad, it's like his Brad is really good, but John does the stuff he wants to do. Actually, I don't think he's less patient than he looks, and Brad really requires patience in a way. Like, you're active, but you're patient. You're letting the general flow of the game be the normal thing that you're patiently watching, and you're waiting for those moments when people make a mistake or do certain things and you just nail them. But I think his John makes stuff happen. So, and I think he likes to make stuff happen a lot. He really likes to make stuff happen. Hi, so good to see you. I also want to give a shout out. So on the news front, in New York, there's a very special event. Please follow VF Hayato. You see him in the chat? Please click on him. Follow him on Twitch. His streams are some of the most fun Virtua Fighter streams you'll ever watch, because he can be a real character, but he's also a wonderful person, and he's a strong player too. He's running an event in New York. It's going to be one of the last events for Brooklyn Arcade. I love Brooklyn Arcade. It's such an awesome arcade in New York. And if I could go to Super Choya Cup in March, I would go. I highly encourage you to go if you're able to go. I think it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be an amazing time. And I know players from outside New York that are going to that event. This year, I won't be able to travel as much as I have. Last year, I got to travel a bit more, though I didn't go to all the majors in North America. But I did get to travel, and I got to play a lot of VF last year, and I loved it. But this year, it's going to be more streaming and videos because I got to focus on other stuff, but on work. But, finding work. But that said, this is, if I could go, I would go. And I definitely recommend it. Now, I do plan to go to LA Gathering because I plan to be part of the team organizing LA Gathering. But, and so I hope you all join us in October. I believe we'll do LA Gathering, because that was, to me, like one of the very best events of last year for Virtua Fighter. We had so much fun. And if you can make room for LA Gathering, it's beyond amazing. I think you're gonna love. I think this year we're gonna knock it out of the park even more. That said, Super Choya Cup in New York in March. It's gonna be amazing. Go there, sign up, and if you can't go there, follow VF Hayato's stream and support the Matcherino. Please, please, please support that Matcherino. It's going to good things. It'll help the players. It does attract people. When that event has consistently had really good pots, but it will mean a lot to the people going there. Please support Matcherino in general. Matcherino is a cool way to support your locals, but especially support tournaments. And tournaments are usually done at a loss. They cost people a lot of money and a lot of time and work. VF Hayato puts a lot of work and a lot of time making sure everybody's ready for that. So shout outs to you, VF Hayato. Thank you so much, man. Thank you for being one of our best content creators in Virtua Fighter. Thanks for being so much fun and being everyone's best friend. So as said, everybody have a good one, and thank you so much. And also support Guibert. Follow Guibert as well. You saw Guibert in the chat. Follow The Rock Reaper. The Rock Reaper has awesome streams when he streams. Guibert has some cool streams, but he's really been getting offline VF going in California and supporting it, even in Southern California, meaning he's covering both Northern and Southern California, which is insane. So thank you so much. Everything you do, Guibert, I appreciate you so much. The Rock Reaper, I support you so much. You've always been super supportive of me, and I love our rivalry. I love fighting. Your L-Blaze drives me absolutely insane, and that's a good thing because that's what we love in VF. So yeah, everyone, thank you so much. We are going to I'll put it back on the VFTV so you guys can watch that action while I find somebody to. Everyone knows that I like to raid. And if you support me and you would like me to raid your channel, just let me know, so that sometimes that when the time comes, I'll be able to do that. I really like to support our friends and of course our community. We're all about community here because it's like martial arts. The best way to do martial arts is being in an environment where you get to spar a lot, learn a lot, fight a lot, discuss a lot, have fun, and sometimes even have a little friction. So it's one of those things where that's what it is to be community, and it makes us better as people. So I really encourage you to engage in the community. We have a really nice one. So let me see. Okay, Mr. Worldwide has been enthusiastic about Virtua Fighter. They came from Tekken. I'm going to raid them, and here's a cool fun fact. Earlier, I talked about how Markman praised me for my write-up about explaining Virtua Fighter to Tekken players. That write-up came from my direct messages with Mr. Worldwide. That was me writing that for Mr. Worldwide, and then later I made that, then I put it up public. So that's a fun fact for you all. Please support Mr. Worldwide, and thank you all so much for supporting me. I appreciate you all very much. Let's play more VF when we can. Let's support it more, and I'm always happy to talk more VF with you too. You can send me a message at any time of the day. People know that I will send responses. They'll know I'll send essays. One of my best throw escape guides, which was a Yomi guide, was written in a chat. It was written in a text chat, in a group chat, and then I edited a little bit, but it not much, and I'll show that to you guys later. But yeah, and a lot of people have told me that guide really explained a lot to them, but also explained to them how to get better at reading and how to apply Yomi in your matches better. So, cheers. All right, y'all have a good one, and thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. I better go meet my dad's gonna wonder where I'm at, so I'll catch you later.